is Steve Yorkstone. I work in Edinburgh Napier University in the admin side of the house, doing business improvement, helping the way that the university works, facilitating meetings, coaching, running training sessions, that sort of thing.
And my name is Eva Malone, and I'm a programme leader in the School of Applied Sciences at Edinburgh Napier University, and I lead a suite of undergraduate programmes, 5 in total. And so Steve and I are here today to share with you a project that we undertook because we hope it may be helpful for others to hear about it.
Is that the presentation up there?
I can see it now, Steve, thanks.
Super dupes.
So the next slide is an image that I chose to reflect how I felt at the end of the first year of being a programme leader. And as I said, I lead a suite of 5 undergraduate programmes. There's a team of 35 plus academics that contribute to the delivery, and we have 37 modules within the suite. At any one time, there's around 500 students enrolled on the programme suite. And we're supported by a programme administrator and 3 specialist technical teams. And the programmes are intertwined, and that makes sense. There's a lot of advantages for that for delivery, but in terms of leadership, it can present some challenges. And after my first full year that I completed in role, this is how I felt. And when I looked ahead to the future, it didn't necessarily energize me to think I had to do this again. And I think if I hadn't had reached out to try and find support, then I would be trying to complete that task, but waist deep in mud. So I knew I couldn't do it my own. I was feeling overwhelmed, and I approached Steve and discussed the challenges that I was facing, and we discussed together how we could work together and move forward so that we could be more effective, or that I could be more effective as a programme leader and feel more positive about the role that I had.
In a lot of my role when I'm facilitating groups coming together, we start by making the implicit explicit so we can deal with it. And we started doing this with Eva. We got together in a Microsoft Whiteboard platform and just bunged out, well, okay, so what are all the jobs? What are all the tasks that need to be done? And this is kind of what that whiteboard looked like. You probably can't read all that now. It's just there to illustrate it. But we started saying, well, let's get an increasingly effective program team, and let's just brainstorm all of the different tasks that there are that come in Eva's sphere as a program leader, but the broader program team. And then we realized that actually there was more than that. There was all the folk around the program that undertook those tasks. And a little kind of thought went off, well, there's a project management thing I've come across called a RACI matrix, which stands for Responsible, Accountable, Consulted and Informed. And I thought that might be a useful way of thinking about these things, where we put the roles on one axis of the matrix, the tasks on another, and in the middle of the matrix identify who does what. So we started with this whiteboard and then started to do that, but we weren't overthinking it. We were just kind of trying to make it visible so we could kind of work out what to do next.
So we shared the approach with the team, and this image captures, I believe, how I felt about the approach we were taking, but also the program leadership team. So I took this photo when I was out for a walk one morning, and it's a picture of a sunrise. And there was recognition amongst the program leadership team that things needed to change. So the program leadership team is myself, and I'm supported by 4 year leads, and we work together really collaboratively to support one another. There was the recognition that things needed to change, and that support was there, and there was engagement in the process. We also very early on, under Steve's suggestion, invited our program administrator to come on board, and they came on board and were a really valuable contribution to the discussions. And we also had support from our head of subject with the project and moving the project forward. When shared with the wider team, there was a positive response in that team members could see, wider team members could see the potential for this beyond the suite that I lead and for other programs. And we received some really constructive feedback when we reached out to others. One of the things that we were told was that the Excel tool that we had created was quite overwhelming in itself, and that reflects the complexity of the roles that are involved in a program leader. But we got some constructive feedback on how we could improve on what we had, and we also when applying the RACI matrix and consulting with the program leadership team and wider, we found that the RACI matrix wasn't granular enough, and we needed to revisit that and expand on that. And I should just add one more thing before I pass over to Steve, to say that in Edinburgh Napier University, I am supported as a program leader. I do have a role descriptor, and there are resources such as the program leaders checklist, which we also referred to and used during this process. But for me individually as a program leader, I needed some more support to be as effective as I could and to help build the team and for us to work positively and as efficiently as we can.
So let's show you what the thing looks like. And when Eva says it was complicated, that's what people say. They say, oh, there's so much there. But that probably is directly reflective of the complexity of the role. You can see, if you're familiar with Excel, it's really, we've not overthought it, but we use the sort and filter function to arrange tasks in groups, so we can see which, say, their student staff liaison committee tasks are all together. And you can see, as well as the RACI, we added U for uninformed, because we acknowledge that actually sometimes people don't want or need to know, so actually let's just make that explicit. And also P for participating, acknowledging that sometimes people are taking part in it, even if they aren't a kind of a responsible or accountable for that role. And of course, you know, for co, meaning of words, what's that all about? There are many other ways of describing these matrices. There's many, you can find them online. There's one called a Paris matrix, which does a similar role. For me, the interesting thing was the process of creating this was part of the value, because it meant that the team and Eva were able to surface what was going on and reflect on it, and constructing this led to a greater level of understanding of it. But you are still using this now, if I'm right, Eva?
Yes, I am. And so we should probably say that the tool was finished in January. So I've been using it since then, and I already recognise it needs refinement and some additional detail to go through it. And when I'd gone through the process and we had the tool, I thought the tool was the solution. But as Steve has said, you know, I've had some time to reflect now, and actually going through the process as part of the team was valuable and has a value. But I do still use the tool, the Excel tool, because it's a resource for me as a program leader and for the program leadership team. When I was feeling overwhelmed, in part, that was because I had so many things to remember and there were so many things to do, and I didn't necessarily know where to go. And so what the tool allows me to do is I visit it every so often, and I know what's mapped out, when things are supposed to happen. And I can use it to inform the regular meetings that we have as a program leadership team, so that we know. So I'm ahead of the game instead of behind as I was previously. So I know what's coming, and I know what we have to plan for and the discussions that we need to have. So it's helping me in that way. Also, when I have tasks to do, I can refer to the tool and go, okay, yeah, remember now who's responsible for that. Sometimes it's me, sometimes it's not. Who's participating in that task, and I can then reach out to those individuals. And I really did feel alone and a little isolated. I don't feel that way now, because if you noticed on the sheet at the top was there were all the different roles of the wider team outside the program team of individuals that are here to support myself and members of the program team. And so that was really reassuring for me. And also it meant that we had come together as a program leadership team and agreed how we were going to work together, and we could see the involvement and the value of everybody. The image here, I should just say, of the bridge, the reason for it is that the bridge represents the 3 trimesters we have in an academic year at Napier, and the bridge is the route, is the program roadmap, and the route that we're taking as a program leadership, the program roadmap guiding us as we go along. And while I'm still a learning program leader, I still have things to learn. The tool will help me with that. But where I hope and I think another value will be is with succession planning. When I'm the outgoing program leader and there's a new incoming program leader, that this tool will exist and to support them. And one of the things from attending these cluster workshops is that there's been mention of educational leadership, and for program leaders to be educational leaders. What this tool is allowing me to do is to manage the management so that I can move into being that educational leader.
It's worth saying that it isn't meant to be perfect. You know, this is meant to be a heuristic. It is a good enough for now, and we'll change it as we go. And it's based on the idea that we were starting in the middle of a pandemic. What do we do? There's all this stuff. Well, there's just these tasks. We've just got to do all these tasks. Who's got to do these tasks? It's just going to be us. And actually that kind of practical attitude kind of really helped the team find a way through it. There's a question in chat: did we involve students when developing the model? I think for practical reasons we didn't. It was something that we did with the team going forward. But going back to that thought that this is just a starting point, it would be interesting to talk to students and see what their thought was about it and how this surfaces a lot of the tasks that the program team do, which will be hidden from that student view.
We did share the program roadmap at our board of studies, and our student representatives attend our board of studies, so they were aware of the conversations that were happening, but they weren't involved in the planning stages and the development stages.
Of course.
And just to thank you to members of the team, I think that we have mentioned as we went along.